Summer break, my classmate Chenyi and I traveled to Sa Village, a place renowned as an adventurer's paradise. The village chief constantly warned us not to go out at night because of the walking corpses. I just laughed. What's a walking corpse or a zombie to me? I'm a Taoist priestess. This damned broken road is really hard to navigate. Chenyi grumbled, wiping non-existent sweat from his forehead as he stared at the village gate. You really think there are walking corpses here? He asked. I glanced at him. I don't know, but whether there are or not, you're still paying me, I said. Chenyi pouted, reluctantly muttering, Yeah, I know. My name is Yue Ruo, a third-year university student and a Taoist priestess. Chenyi is my class president, a complete fanatic for adventure and supernatural novels. Before summer break, he mysteriously sought me out, asking if I wanted to visit Sa Village, the so-called adventurer's holy land, famous for its legends of walking corpses. I flat out refused. Who has time for adventuring? Do you have a death wish or something? But the transfer notification that immediately followed changed my mind. A deposit of 100,000 with another 200,000 upon completion. I almost forgot, this guy is a rich heir. So, I put on my most devout smile. Yue Ruo, at your humble service, my lord. I work meticulously. Only after signing the contract did Chenyi and I enter Sa Village. Sa Village is an offshoot of the S tribe, severely isolated from modern civilization. I followed Chenyi into the village. The houses here were built into the mountainside, somewhat resembling the stilt houses of Xiangnan village. But the difference was that the lower floors were sealed with wooden planks, and above them were carved some symbols, similar to the talismans of our Taoist sect. The village chief of Sa Village was waiting for us near the entrance. The villagers weren't exactly hospitable. The chief merely glanced at us, asking simply, You're here, let's go. In the middle of the night, Chenyi and I had already prepared our gear. I pulled out my peachwood sword, paper talismans, and a handful of glutinous rice from my bag. He snickered when he saw them. You Taoists, can't you go anywhere without this trio? I shot a sarcastic glance at the camera on his head. And you adventure bloggers, do cameras really grow out of your faces? I ignored his useless indignation, instead laying out the yellow talismans, grinding cinnabar and red ink and drawing spells. 30 corpse-binding talismans, 5 calming talismans, and 5 ghost-dispelling talismans. Once everything was ready, we silently waited for movement from downstairs. Based on online information, walking corpses usually appeared around 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. and moved in groups, often accompanied by the sound of bells. After a long while, the sound of wood being pushed open suddenly echoed from downstairs. Chenyi and I exchanged glances, gently opened the door and tiptoed down, hiding in the corner of the staircase. A strange bell sound rang out. The wooden planks on the ground floors of the stilt houses were opened one by one and corpses crawled out. The first floor of Sa Village was, in fact, where the walking corpses were stored. The walking corpses slowly moved away. Chenyi, eager to go down, was pulled back by me. What are you doing? He asked, annoyed. I gestured for him to look downstairs. We saw a person who looked like a shaman, a corpse guide, step out from a small room below. Use your brain, buddy. The first bell sound we heard came from downstairs. Stiff corpses can't shake bells. Who do you think is shaking it? I explained to Chenyi that if he got surrounded by walking corpses, the blood of 10 people like him wouldn't be enough to satisfy them. After warning him, I cautiously went downstairs. Chenyi and I secretly followed the shaman, keeping a distance of about 20 meters. We traced the moonlight, carefully following the procession of walking corpses. We reached the end of the village. The shaman stopped before a forest. Looking around, I quickly pulled Chenyi to hide in a pile of dry straw. After observing his surroundings, he slowly removed his shaman attire, revealing his body underneath. I used the moonlight to clearly see the shaman's body. My breath hitched. His body was covered in rotting flesh, connected in patches, with plump white maggots wriggling on them. With his movements, not a few maggots fell to the ground. I noticed yellow fluid seeping from his rotting flesh, his clothes already soaked. A faint stench of decay hung in the air. The shaman took off all his clothes, set them aside, and put on another set adorned with copper coins before continuing to lead the corpses. He had been so eroded by the death chi from the walking corpses that he was neither human nor ghost. If not for that copper coin shirt, he would have long since turned into a living dead. How pathetic. We followed the shaman into the forest. A thick fog began to rise, reducing visibility. I could only rely on the swaying figures of the walking corpses and the shaman's bell to guide us. Chenya stumbled forward. The surrounding temperature dropped sharply, the wind chilling to the bone, and he grew a little scared. Yue Ruo, maybe we should go back? He asked. I looked down at the compass in my hand. The needle spun wildly. It's too late. I can't find our way back either. After walking for a long time, the procession of walking corpses finally stopped before a cliff. The shaman walked to the cliff, cut his hand with a knife, and fresh red blood dripped to the ground. The cliff began to tremble slightly. After a pause, the shaman continued to lead the walking corpses forward. A chilling death chi began to spread, cold enough to pierce the bones. Finally, the shaman stopped in a circular clearing. All the corpses formed a circle. The shaman stood outside the circle. Suddenly, the ground shook, and in the center of the circle, a black coffin appeared, actually dark red, stained with blood. The shaman shook his bell, and the walking corpses staggered closer to the coffin. I saw streams of death chi fly out from their 7 orifices, hovering, then drifting towards the coffin. The death chi seeped into the cracks of the coffin. I narrowed my eyes at the shaman. He was using the death chi of the walking corpses to nurture a fierce corpse. Hearing the sounds from inside the coffin, Chenya fearfully tugged at my Taoist robe. Yue Ruo, maybe we should go? I deliberated for 2 seconds. All right, let's go. As we turned, a sharp gust of wind brushed past my ear. Clang, a few coins fell beside me, warning us not to move. I turned around and found the shaman staring intently at Chenya and me. Village chief, Chenya exclaimed. The shaman ignored him, picking up a dagger from who knows where, turning and lunging towards me. The dagger was a blade specifically designed for drawing blood. I took a sharp breath. The shaman must have discovered us following him early on. He wanted to use my blood to nourish the king of fierce corpses. I reacted quickly, dodging to the side. He lunged into empty air. The shaman raised his dagger, aiming for my heart. I kicked him down. The shaman's body had been infiltrated by death chi for years, and his physical condition was very poor. Kicked to the ground by me, a healthy adult woman, he couldn't get up. The shaman lay on the ground, his eyes filled with unwillingness. Only 1 step left. He frantically exerted all his strength, throwing the dagger towards me. The knife flew past me, heading straight for Chenya. Chenya was still stunned, not dodging at all. I rushed forward, instinctively reaching out my hand to block. A sharp pain shot through my palm. I had caught the blade. The sharp blade cut my palm, blood flowed down, dripping onto the ground, slowly disappearing. The blood was absorbed by the earth, flowing along the earth's veins towards the coffin. This land was living corpse soil, earth that nourished the undead. I looked at the walking corpses lying scattered on the ground and quickly pulled out my peach wood sword. I chanted a fire spell. A flame swiftly descended upon the walking corpses. I had to burn them to prevent them from absorbing yang qi, which would lead to corpse mutation, the corpses transforming into something worse. The raging fire consumed everything, quickly spreading to the coffin, hoping to incinerate the evil spirit inside as well. No! The shaman let out a desperate cry. The coffin made a loud noise. The 4 red nails driven into its corners were shaken loose and fell to the ground. Dense death chi erupted, extinguishing the flames. Cracks appeared on the coffin. The shaman laughed wildly with joy. Heaven has not forsaken my Sa village. The fierce corpse is finally nurtured successfully. Ha 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 ha! I was stunned. This shaman was insane. If this fierce corpse was successfully nurtured, the first to be slaughtered would be Sa village itself. Do you have a grudge against your own village? I asked. The shaman looked puzzled. A grudge? What grudge? I said. You claim no grudge, yet you're nurturing a fierce corpse right outside your village. Now that it's complete, the first to be killed will be your own Sa village. The shaman angrily retorted. Nonsense. The great master said this fierce corpse is a treasure from head to toe. Once it's nurtured, our village can escape poverty. The shaman finished speaking and eagerly rushed towards the coffin, his face filled with an excitement that didn't seem feigned. Just as I was beginning to doubt, I heard a loud boom. The coffin lid exploded, scattering fragments everywhere. The shaman eagerly poked his head in to look. A monstrous hand reached out, grabbing him tightly by the neck. I held my peachwood sword and stabbed directly into the monstrous hand. The hand shrieked in pain and recoiled. I pulled the shaman back. I took out a roll of ink-soaked thread. The shaman had been absorbed by death chi and had now completely turned into a walking corpse. I handed one end of the ink thread to the shaman. You've been deceived. The fierce corpse you nurtured with walking corpses is an evil spirit. It will kill people. If you don't believe me, see for yourself. I pointed towards the coffin. A walking corpse, burned but not entirely gone, was staggering to its feet, drawn by the death chi in the coffin. It unconsciously walked towards the coffin. It hadn't gone far when it exploded into charred fragments of flesh, falling everywhere. See. If you get close, you'll meet the same end. I lied. The shaman remained silent, staring only at the coffin. I ignored his emotions, directly stuffing the ink thread into his hand. Hold this thread tight, I will seal the coffin. I wrapped the ink thread around the coffin layer by layer. The coffin was too large. Even with 500 meters of ink thread, there was still a corner left unwrapped. At this moment, only a few minutes remained until midnight. I had no choice but to tear off the remaining piece of my Taoist robe with a trigram design and cover the last corner of the coffin, completing the seal. Midnight arrived. The full, bright moonlight shone directly onto the coffin. The moonlight was fully absorbed by the ink thread. There was movement inside the coffin. Something wanted to break out but was suppressed by the ink thread. I let out a sigh of relief. It seemed to be all right. Just get through tonight, and I would use divine fire to burn the coffin, scattering the fierce corpse's soul. I looked at the shaman. He was still silent, merely handing me the remaining ink thread. I took the ink thread back. Suddenly, I felt a chilling pain in my lower abdomen. Then, intense pain spread throughout my belly. I looked up in shock. The shaman's eyes were bloodshot and vacant, black smoke rising from his entire body. His sharp nails were dug deep into my abdomen, as if wanting to tear off a piece of flesh. I gritted my teeth, enduring the intense pain, reaching out to grab the shaman's hand, twisting it forcefully until it broke. Black blood flowed down my wrist, dripping onto the ground. At this moment, the death chi from the coffin seeped out through the small crack and was absorbed by the shaman. The shaman had now completely transformed into a walking corpse. I staggered back. I gathered all my strength to pick up the peachwood sword from the ground. Heaven's weakness, fire spell. Earth's weakness, peaceful calamity. Most exalted Lord Lao, by urgent command, burn. A stream of fire descended from the sky, striking directly at the shaman. The flames consumed his body, but he stood still as if feeling no pain. He regained his clarity, looked at me, and spoke in a hoarse voice. I became like this because I was foolish in judging people, trusting the wrong person. I accept my fate, but the villagers are innocent. Please save them. With that, he used one hand to grasp his ribs and violently ripped them open. A black heart, completely infiltrated by death chi, was torn out by him. I am willing to commit suicide to atone for my sins. The shaman was burned to a skeleton. I staggered to my feet. The coffin again let out a loud boom. The coffin completely exploded, streams of black smoke breaking through the ink thread, engulfing the shaman's body. More and more black chi surged, frantically burrowing into the shaman's body. Muscles regrew on him, like greenish-gray dead flesh. He raised his head again, his eyes cold, black chi flowing out from his 7 orifices. This fierce corpse intended to possess his body and revive. I desperately dropped my peachwood sword, pulling out a dagger, ready to end my own life if the fierce corpse bit me. I am the only living descendant of the ghost King Shen Tu. I humbly implore the ghost King Shen Tu for protection. As soon as I finished chanting, a massive burst of light erupted from my body, illuminating the evil spirit hidden within the black smoke. The evil spirit had a green face, fangs, black eyes with no whites, dressed in official robes, and wore an official's hat exactly like the zombies in my imagination. It let out a roar, and then streams of death chi transformed into sharp blades, lunging towards me. I suppressed the pain, raised my peachwood sword. Wind god, heed my command. Wind, come. A strong wind immediately rose around me, forming a barrier, blowing away the death chi. The fierce corpse raged, accelerating its charge towards me. Fire god Yue Ruo, heed my command. Fire, come. I shouted in desperation, but nothing happened. Hey, Yue Ruo, you idiot. I'm the fierce corpse from the mountain behind Sa village. If you're so good, burn me to death with a single flame, you fool. Suddenly, elder brother Jiao's voice rang in my ear. I struggled to lift my head and saw him standing beside me, holding a crooked talisman. On the other side was Chen Yi, sprinkling cinnabar on my wound. The shaman's arm, still embedded in my abdomen, immediately fell out. After elder brother Jiao finished chanting, the talisman quickly ignited. A massive divine fire, a heavenly flame, descended from the sky, incinerating the fierce corpse. Elder brother Jiao carried me on his shoulder. Let's go, junior sister, I'll take you home. I woke up in the hospital. Elder brother Jiao and Diane Mu were slumped beside the bed. Chenyi was asleep in a chair. I asked Chenyi, "How did you meet elder brother Jiao?" Chenyi said he had strangely walked straight out of the forest and encountered elder brother Jiao. I asked elder brother Jiao, "How did you know I was in trouble?" Elder brother Jiao replied, "Did you forget we hung our fate bells at the Taoist temple? Yours kept ringing loudly." I divined a great omen. I looked at the news on the television. Sa Village's tourist development project was being rushed. I remembered that Chenyi's family was involved in tourism development. I asked elder brother Jiao, "Do you remember what else is needed to nurture a fierce corpse besides walking corpses?" "A highly yin object, something of extreme yin," elder brother Jiao said. I nodded. Everything became clear. Chenyi paid me, ostensibly for adventuring, but actually for my pure yin blood. My pure yin blood soaked into the living corpse soil, nourishing the fierce corpse. Chenyi's family's goal wasn't for the fierce corpse to slaughter the villagers, but to kill the village chief. The head of the village opposed the demolition. If the village chief died, Sa Village would disintegrate. But Sa Village was already permeated with death qi. If it became a tourist area, visitors' health would be harmed. I looked at Diane Mu, who was hugging an orange and eating it. I told her that she had a pure yang constitution, and her blood was an antidote to evil. Diane Mu followed my instructions and went to the distant forest, dripping her blood onto the ground. The death qi was stimulated, breaking apart the earth, loosening the geological structure on the mountainside, causing a landslide that buried Sa Village. The tourism development project was suspended. The Countess's murder, an ancient castle, transformed into a vessel to resurrect its owner. But what we didn't know was that the owner of the castle had never truly died. My name is Yue Ruo, a female Taoist priestess with a pure yin fate. The castle's owner was a countess, rumored to live by sucking blood and never seeing sunlight. She was later killed by the king's soldiers, and dozens of young female bodies were found in the manor outside the castle. The castle was abandoned for 100 years until an acquaintance of my friend bought it. Afterward, they frequently heard women crying in the castle. "Yue Ruo over here." Outside the manor, my university classmate, Chen Yuan, eagerly waved. He was an overseas Chinese deeply fascinated by Taoist magic. This time, he invited me to perform a ritual. I initially refused, but he went to our Taoist temple, took my master's hand, and said, "If successful, the fee is 1 million yuan." My master's eyes lit up. "You're my favorite disciple." I tried to appeal to his conscience, but in the end, Diane Mu, elder brother Jiao, and I were all practically shoved by him to country M. "Long time no see, Yue Ruo, you're getting more beautiful," he exclaimed. "Oh no, you're getting handsomer too," I replied. Chen Yuan and I stood in the sun, exchanging polite flattery. Ahum, elder brother Jiao, who had been waiting beside us, coughed twice. Chen Yuan glared at him, then led us into the manor. As soon as we entered the manor, I caught a very faint scent of decay, a smell that was hard to pinpoint. I followed the direction of the smell and saw a foreign man with blonde hair and blue eyes. Chen Yuan introduced him. "This is Denb, the one who bought this manor. He's my mom's little brother's cousin's son." Diane Mu raised an eyebrow. "So, very distant relatives then?" Chen Yuan scratched his head. "Distant or not, he's still family." Denb had a very gentle demeanor, speaking broken Chinese with a friendly smile, but for some reason I felt he wasn't genuine. Elder brother Jiao also noticed this. He glanced at me, then smiled brightly, offering his business card to Denb. "I'm elder brother Jiao, Yue Ruo's senior brother. This is my business card. If you have any problems later, just find me." Denb merely looked at elder brother Jiao's name on the card, a flicker of unnaturalness in his eyes. He didn't take it, leaving elder brother Jiao's hand suspended in midair. I narrowed my eyes. Elder brother Jiao's business card had a ghost-dispelling talisman personally drawn by him. He was excellent at drawing talismans. Seeing this, Diane Mu recoiled, her arm, which had been linked with mine, suddenly tensing. Noticing Diane Mu's gesture, Chen Yuan quickly explained to Denb, "My acquaintance broke his arm 2 days ago, so his movements are a bit inconvenient. Sorry about that." It was then that we noticed Denb's jacket was loosely draped and his sleeve was empty. We immediately felt guilty. It's fine. Let's go see the castle first," I quickly interjected. Denb said nothing, nodded, and turned to walk straight into the manor. Chen Yuan gestured for us to follow. We walked to the lakeside. Opposite the lake stood an ancient castle. Denb stopped, pointing at the castle. "I bought this manor from the descendant of a noble. There's an old castle in the manor, which they also sold to me. I planned to convert it into a holiday villa, so I moved in. Initially, everything was normal until about half a month ago. He paused, looking at the castle. In the middle of the night, I always hear women crying from the castle, and I even saw fresh blood on the second-story window. I frowned, looking up at the second-story window. It was a large window carved with intricate patterns. At this moment, the window was gloomy, with several black spots like dried bloodstains. Denb continued, I've invited many psychics and exorcists to perform rituals, but nothing worked. He looked at Chen Yuan. Chen is a distant acquaintance. He said Chinese Taoists might have a way. I nodded in understanding, then asked Chen Yuan, Are the things I asked you to prepare ready? Chen Yuan replied, Ready. Then, before dark, we'll perform the first ritual. I opened my suitcase and handed Taoist robes to elder brother Jiao and Diane Mu. We decided that if the place was too dangerous, we would perform 7 consecutive rituals to completely eradicate all evil spirits. The first ritual was conducted outside the castle. Chen Yuan had already laid out the items: peach wood crosses, black dog blood, glutinous rice, cinnabar, and ink lines. The 3 of us stood behind the table, holding peach wood swords dipped in cinnabar to draw ghost-dispelling talismans. Once drawn, we simultaneously brandished our swords towards the castle gate. Diane Mu closed her eyes and loudly chanted, Heaven and earth naturally, foul chi disperses, slay demons, subjugate evil, slaughter 10,000 ghosts. As soon as she finished, the castle let out a mournful wail like a woman weeping. Elder brother Jiao and I's eyes widened. We quickly retracted our swords. We usually only chanted, transcend 10,000 ghosts. Diane Mu had just opened her mouth and chanted, slaughter 10,000 ghosts, which was a grave offense. Diane Mu also realized her mistake and quickly formed a hand seal, chanting, Most exalted divine star, respond without pause, 3 souls eternal, 7 spirits without loss, a calming charm to protect the soul. After the calming charm was chanted, the crying stopped. This castle truly wasn't clean. I was about to ask Diane Mu why she had chanted the slaughter all charm when I saw Denb looking at the castle with a murderous glint in his eyes. He seemed to deeply hate whatever was inside. I don't know why, but I kept hearing someone behind me whispering, Kill it, kill it. Annoyed, I accidentally blurted it out. Diane Mu pulled me back to explain. I turned around and saw Denb standing right behind Diane Mu. Diane Mu had a pure yang fate, so she was rarely disturbed mentally. If it was truly Denb, why was he doing this? Was he so terrified that he wanted to destroy the ghost? I recalled the faint, bloody smell on him. Evil spirits in the castle were almost eliminated, the rest were deep inside. We need to go in for the second ritual. I concealed the fact that Diane Mu had chanted the wrong spell. Denb seemed unstable. When Denb heard this, his eyes flashed with excitement. If we finish the second ritual, will everything inside be completely dead? I suppressed my suspicion. Yes, I said. He turned to Chen Yuan. Hurry and prepare the items for Master Yue Ruo to begin the second ritual. The moment he turned away, I saw a thick line of stitches around his neck, as if his head had been cut off and sewn back on. The items for the second ritual were quickly prepared. Diane Mu's legs turned to jelly. Can I not go in? She asked. She had a pure yang fate but was as timid as a mouse. Then you can wait for Master to throw you into a demon pit, I said, laughing and patting her shoulder. She whimpered and followed elder brother Jiao and me. Denb opened the castle door. A flock of bats surged out, their eyes red and fangs bared, flying outwards. Watch out for these bats. Red eyes and long fangs, they might be blood-sucking bats. Elder brother Jiao covered our faces. The castle has been uninhabited for a long time. My apologies, 3 masters, Denb said. Entering the castle, I realized Chen Yuan was gone. Where's Chen Yuan? He said he had a headache. I told him to rest, Denb said. He handed us some items. These are the things he asked me to give you. I took them and nodded. Then I'll wait outside for you, Denb said. All right. He turned and slammed the castle door shut. I gave cinnabar to elder brother Jiao. He sprinkled it on the ground to draw a ghost-dispelling array. I bit my finger, letting my pure yin blood drip onto glutinous rice. Yin blood and glutinous rice would attract ghosts. Diane Mu saw me drawing blood and obediently took out a blood-pricking needle, gritting her teeth to prick her finger and drip blood onto the array. Once finished, the 3 of us stood in a 3 flowers gathering at the peak formation, holding peach wood swords and ghost-dispelling talismans. 3 minutes later, the surrounding windows shattered, bloodstains spreading across them. A cold wind rose, blowing down the crystal chandelier from the ceiling. Careful! Elder Brother Jiao pushed us away. The chandelier fell right where we had just been standing. I felt a sudden chill on my head just now, so I pushed you all away. A black silver platter flew straight towards Elder Brother Jiao. Elder Brother Jiao, watch out! Diane Mu and I simultaneously swung our swords. The silver platter was cut in half by Diane Mu, embedding itself in the wall. The silver platter was tainted with black ghostly qi, but thanks to Diane Mu's pure yang blood, the ghostly qi was dissipated. Elder Brother Jiao and I exchanged glances, understanding. The evil spirits in the castle weren't strong enough to completely control our minds. We could handle them. Diane Mu was still lying on the ground, all her courage gone. Seeing Elder Brother Jiao and me approaching with peach wood swords, a cunning expression crossed her face, and she immediately got up. What are you doing? Elder Brother Jiao pulled out a blood-pricking needle. You volunteered for this, so we'll help you. Diane Mu, she realized our intention and tried to run away. I explained, the magic array is useless. We have to go into each room. Our pure yang blood on our peach wood swords will double their effectiveness. Diane Mu was furious. You have a pure yin fate, why don't you use your blood? I shrugged. My blood attracts ghosts, it doesn't dispel them. Elder Brother Jiao lost his patience and used an immortal binding rope to tie her hands. Diane Mu screamed. I quickly covered her mouth. This is your zodiac year, your Ben Ming Nian, and you have a pure yang fate, making you easily susceptible to spiritual influences. You must avoid speaking ill-omened words. She nodded in surrender. Diane Mu gritted her teeth, pricked her finger, and applied her blood to Elder Brother Jiao's lightning-struck peach wood sword. The sword immediately emitted a golden light. Let's go upstairs and see. We sandwiched Diane Mu in the middle, the strongest but most timid person. Elder Brother Jiao went last, and I went first. Upstairs on the second floor, everything was pitch black. I closed my eyes and sensed countless streams of cold qi surging from the rooms. I couldn't bear it and spat out a mouthful of blood. My pure yin blood has a deadly attraction to ghosts. Immediately, a bloody mist or blood fog rose around us. This blood fog, or crimson malevolence, is a form of red resentment, born from unnatural deaths and destroyed souls. This is an extremely dire situation, and the appearance of crimson malevolence surely heralds that someone must die to appease this resentment. Oh, this again. Diane Mu pulled out her peachwood sword, her eyes resolute. I am the master of the Northern Dao electric family, with no one behind me, a self-made clan. May my ancestors bless me, she chanted a spell. The peachwood sword emitted a golden glow, forming a barrier to block the blood fog. Elder Brother Jiao applied Diane Mu's pure yang blood to my bleeding wound. Pure yang blood will neutralize the yin qi in your blood, but this time, there will be big trouble. He handed me 5 emperor coins. The blood fog outside intensified, piercing through the barrier, condensing into sharp blood swords. As we prepared to close our eyes and brace for impact, Elder Brother Jiao suddenly unlocked his phone and pressed a button. Master's voice, full of internal power, chanted the 5 thunders palm. A bolt of divine lightning struck from Elder Brother Jiao's lightning-struck peachwood sword, tearing open the blood fog. Wow! This lightning-struck peachwood sword remote-controlled? Is Master fighting ghosts online? Diane Mu wondered. Elder Brother Jiao gave a forced smile. I just learned the 5 thunders palm, and its power isn't great yet, so I asked Master to record a segment. Diane Mu glared at the lightning-struck peachwood sword. With these 2 owners, neither of you is trustworthy. The blood fog dissipated, and we clearly saw the second floor. All the room doors were ajar, as if waiting for us to enter. Yue Ruo, look! Diane Mu pointed to the opposite wall. On the wall was a moving fresco. In the painting, a beautiful girl in a wedding dress and a nobleman were entering a church. The painting changed. After marriage, her husband died, and she hid in the castle. Outside the castle, the Black Death plague raged, the streets were filthy, and the kingdom was in financial crisis. The painting paused. The king wanted to raise more money to replenish the treasury. The castle and manor in the painting were identical to this place, Diane Mu whispered. We were pulled by a force into the first room, and my vision darkened. I woke up on a large bed, everything around me blurry, with only a few candles. You're awake, a voice pulled me back to reality. Hello, I am Evren, the owner of the castle. She pulled back the curtains, and dazzling sunlight poured in. I drew a spell on the door, summoning you 3 here. I beg you to save me. I looked at Evren. She slowly removed her clothes. Apart from her intact face, her entire body was covered in sores shaped like human faces. Elder Brother Jiao closed his eyes. Diane Mu gasped in horror. Thousand-faced goo, Elder Brother Jiao exclaimed, a look of excitement on his face. You know this disease? My eyes are opened. Elder Brother Jiao explained, this is an exclusive black magic from East Asia. If you're afflicted with goo, your body will be covered in sores shaped like human faces, as if 1,000 faces are growing on your skin. Elder Brother Jiao took out a bottle, collected 1,000-faced spider larva into it, then explained, this isn't a disease, it's goo magic. This is spider goo. These sparkling particles are the hearts of the larvae, which can be used to make tracking goo. We agreed to help Evren remove the goo, in exchange for her telling us how to return. Evren gave us a room. At night, not feeling hungry, we wandered outside the castle. We saw a woman's body thrown over the fence. The three of us took shovels, dug a grave for the girl, and left. The body was still faintly breathing. I remembered the legend of the countess sucking blood and killing dozens of young women. Compared to the blood-sucking countess, I believed this was the story of a countess whose assets were seized by the king. Diane Mu said, I quietly went back to the castle. Let's go home when we're done. I can't change history. The next morning, we went to find Evren and heard a fierce argument upstairs. Evren, no, these are things my husband left for me. We ran up and saw Evren lying in a pool of blood, Denb standing beside her. I'm sorry, but the country really needs this money. Denb bent down, stroking her face. And I also need your heart. I understood now. The heart of someone afflicted with the 1,000-faced goo could extend one's lifespan. The king sent soldiers to shout about killing the blood-sucking countess. Denb stood in the middle, holding Evren's still beating heart, looked directly at us, laughed triumphantly, and then ate it. Evren's floating soul looked at me, pleading, tears of blood streaming down her face. I couldn't bear it and chanted a spell, sending a trace of yin qi to her. I'm sorry, I've interfered with someone else's karma. I bowed my head. Evren absorbed my yin qi. She couldn't reincarnate, only transform into a vengeful ghost or be eternally imprisoned. We were pulled back by a force. Waking up, Evren stood before us, a vengeful ghost with a cracked, greenish-black face. I apologize for dragging you into this unfortunate affair. My husband was killed, my assets were stolen by the king. The king slandered me as a blood-sucking demon. The king's soldiers buried young women alive in the garden to frame me. Then Denb, whom I didn't know was a duke, killed me and ate my heart, but Denb is not dead yet. Elder Brother Jiao said, he's a Xiangnan corpse sewer who stitched together his incomplete corpse. After you left, Denb returned to the castle. I used the broken castle door to chop his body into many pieces. But that Chinese man, Chen Yuan, secretly sewed his body back together, and he came back to life. I understood now. Chen Yuan was an accomplice, the one who stitched Denb's corpse together. Evren smiled. Thank you, now I have successfully taken my revenge. I realized her meaning. She didn't kill Denb so that he would live a life neither human nor ghost. Chen Yuan called from outside the door. Evren looked out. He's the one who sewed Denb's body. After Evren finished speaking, Denb and Chen Yuan burst in. Immediately, countless vengeful spirits of the buried girls rushed out, forming a dense blood fog. Denb and Chen Yuan were surrounded. I bit my tongue, applying blood to my sword. Diane Mu also bit her tongue, applying blood to a talisman. The blood fog instantly killed Chen Yuan. His soul dissipated, turning into a handful of black earth. Denb survived thanks to Evren's heart. Evren lunged, wanting to tear his heart out. Denb provoked her. Kill me, you kill me. Your husband was killed by me. The king wanted you both dead long ago. Evren lunged, but suddenly her soul dissipated. She was blocked by a piece of black wood in Denb's hand. Denb was excited. Chen Yuan really didn't lie. This lightning struck wood can eradicate all evil spirits. Denb was slashed by Elder Brother Jiao. His soul, still in its living form, lunged towards Elder Brother Jiao, wanting to seize his body. Elder Brother Jiao recoiled. I've been enlightened by Master. You're a low-level evil spirit, daring to covet my body? Elder Brother Jiao used his peachwood sword to shatter Denb's soul. Denb turned into a lonely ghost, eternally imprisoned in the castle full of crimson malevolence, suffering forever. He had achieved immortality in a different way. We returned to our country. Chen Yuan's death caused no ripples in country. Master saw me kneel. I immediately knew he had discovered my act of transmitting yin qi to Evren. Where did you go wrong? Master asked gravely. I shouldn't have given yin qi to a vengeful ghost, I admitted honestly. Master snorted coldly. Wrong, that's not it. How long have you been initiated? Don't you have any self-awareness? Master gestured for money, rubbing his thumb and forefinger together. I understood and transferred 500,000 yuan to him. Master smiled brightly, handing me a pill to replenish qi and blood. Next time, don't randomly transmit yin qi. You were accepted by the ghost King Shen too, but yin qi isn't endless. I took the pill. I understand, Master. Let's go eat. The soul released to the underworld. My soul was cast into the depths of the underworld, forcing me to marry a demon. When 100 ghosts bowed before me, I resolutely declared, I am a pure Yin Taoist priestess and the only living descendant of the ghost King Shen too. What in the world is going on? It's so cold. The girl next to me hugged herself, rubbing her arms. I looked around. This was a narrow alley with ancient architecture. In front were several wooden gates, flanked by large red lanterns emitting an eerie glow. The alley stretched forward until it was swallowed by darkness. My name is Yue Ruo, a female Taoist priestess with a pure yin fate and the only living descendant of the ghost King Shen too. The person beside me was Chen Yai, my university roommate. 2 days ago, she invited me to her hometown to participate in the Mid-Autumn Festival's Immortal Maiden Release ceremony. Immortal Maiden Release is also known as releasing yin. In our Taoist tradition, humans have 3 souls and 7 ethereal souls. If the souls leave the body, a person becomes foolish. Folklore also tells of a special kind of Taoist priest who can send the souls of the living to the underworld, allowing them to speak with deceased relatives. This magic is called releasing yin or traveling yin. The folk Taoists in Chen Yai's hometown are called Granny Tong. They are skilled in traveling yin, releasing yin, spiritual communication, and conversing with spirits. Although I am a Taoist, I was very curious about this type of folk Taoist, so I accepted Chen Yai's invitation. Weren't you clamoring to travel yin? Now your wish is granted, I said, looking at a shivering Chen Yai, speechless. Today I followed Chen Yai to the village. The village, built against the mountain, featured typical stilt houses of the Yao and Dong ethnic groups. When we arrived, the releasing yin ritual had already begun. In an empty courtyard, there was a table. 7 girls of similar age sat before it. Granny Tong stood in front of the table, chanting a starting incantation. All the girls began to lie face down on the table, their toes touching the ground, their bodies trembling. Granny Tong performed the ritual on each girl in turn. One by one, they lifted their heads, eyes closed. But the last 2 girls encountered a problem. No matter what, they couldn't lift their heads. Chen Yai and I stood in the crowd, watching the drama unfold. The scene became chaotic. The birth charts of these 2 girls conflict with the 7 immortal maidens. Their souls cannot be released. We need to find replacements. Does anyone want to try? Granny Tong's cloudy eyes scanned the crowd. Chen Yai grabbed my hand, her face beaming with excitement. Me, us. Before I could react, she dragged me onto the table. After we sat down, Granny Tong placed her hand on my head. I don't know what she chanted, but I only felt all the yin qi in my body gather at the top of my head, and then, in the very next second, I appeared here. Chen Yai was just like me, her soul released to this place. I had no idea this was real. I thought it was a scam and planned to expose her, she said, then looked at me guiltily. I sighed. She had never encountered such things before, so her disbelief or curiosity was normal. Fortunately, releasing yin isn't too dangerous for healthy adults. As long as we walk to the end of the path, our souls will return to the human realm. Let's go. Chen Yai and I walked for an unknown duration, finally seeing a stone gate. The stone gate was about 5-6 meters high, with a large plaque above it, Black and White Palace. On either side of the gate were 2 lines of text. Left, instant wealth, right? You have finally arrived. I frowned, intending to bypass the main gate and use a side entrance. But Chen Yai seemed to go mad. Seeing the words, instant wealth, she rushed forward, intending to kowtow. Seeing this, I quickly pulled her back. Are you crazy? Her face was filled with excitement. Instant wealth, why wouldn't you kowtow? I slapped her on the head. Those 2 words are written on the hats of the Black and White Impermanents. You're really something. I've met people who kowtow to the god of wealth, but never to the Black and White Impermanents. Chen Yai was scared out of her wits. So what do we do? Should we go back? She asked, about to turn around. I quickly pulled her through the side entrance. Once you start on the Yellow Springs Road, there's no turning back. Just go straight and you'll get out. No need to be afraid. We are living souls, we must seek permission from King Yama to come here. If anything goes wrong, Granny Tong is responsible. All souls released down here must be reported to King Yama beforehand, otherwise, it's illegal entry. This Granny Tong is truly skilled. Getting permission only takes a few minutes. She must have some connections in the underworld. Beyond the black and white palace gate, the surroundings weren't much different. It was still a small path leading into darkness, but on both sides, instead of walls, there were luxurious bright red Lycoris radiata flowers stretching endlessly. Chen Yai had never seen such a sight. She excitedly ran to the roadside. I was startled. Was she going to pick flowers? Just as I was about to stop her, she picked a flower. Yue Ruo, look, the flowers are so beautiful. Chen Yai handed the flower to me. I had a cold expression and raised my hand, knocking the flower out of her grasp. Chen Yai seemed unhappy and bent down to pick it up. I stopped her. You mustn't touch anything here carelessly. If the pollen gets on you and you carry objects from the underworld, you won't be able to return. She stopped, slowly stood up, her face surprised. How do you know? I almost forgot I was a Taoist priestess. I read about it in some Taoist magazines, I lied. Chen Yai breathed a sigh of relief. Oh, is that all? What's written in books isn't necessarily true. She continued to skip forward, no longer tense or frightened as before. The further we walked, the more luxuriant the Lycoris radiata flowers on both sides became. A cold yin wind blew through, carrying pollen towards us. Close your eyes, I reminded her. Chen Yai complied. Lycoris radiata pollen doesn't stick to the skin but will fly into the eyes. Eyes touched by the pollen will gain the ability to perceive ghosts. Ordinary people don't have yin-yang eyes, but sometimes they see things because their souls, on their way to reincarnation, have their eyes enchanted by the pollen. It also reduces yang qi and makes one prone to illness. When the wind stopped, I opened my eyes. On both sides of the road, the Lycoris radiata no longer seemed to bloom as profusely as before, but I still felt something strange. I looked at Chen Yai ahead. She didn't notice anything unusual. On the contrary, she was even more excited, her steps quickening. I performed a Liu Ren divination. Liu lion, void, great pistu ominous, one auspicious, not a good hexagram. Just as I was about to call Chen Yai back, a familiar voice rang out. The auspicious hour has arrived. The bride is invited to change into her attire. The piercingly cold voice, like a death-inducing talisman, sliced through my eardrums. Chen Yai ahead seemed not to hear it, still running forward on her own. Chen Yai, Chen Yai. I picked up my pace to chase her but couldn't keep up. I barely passed the 800-meter physical test in university. I thought about it and slowed down my steps. Anyway, she wouldn't die. Chen Yai quickly disappeared into the darkness. I continued to walk slowly. This road went straight, and at the end, it would pass through a peach forest, then onto a boat on the river of forgetfulness to return to the human realm. I wondered, what did that phrase, the auspicious hour has arrived, the bride is invited to change into her attire, mean? Surely it had nothing to do with me. Just as I was about to speed up, the lively sounds of gongs and drums suddenly rang out behind me, and next to my ear that familiar voice rang out again. The auspicious hour has arrived, the bride is invited to change into her attire. It was only then that I realized whose voice it was. It was Granny Tong's voice. Suddenly, I felt a cold chill in my chest. I looked down and saw a sedan chair pole piercing through my chest. Before I could even react, the little ghost bearers carrying the sedan chair also passed through my body. The bone-chilling sensation, reaching my very heart, made me dizzy. My eyes suddenly turned red. I realized I was standing inside the sedan chair. I tilted my head. The bride was sitting next to me. I was standing on the ground, she was sitting in the sedan chair. We were at the same height. Through the veil, I clearly saw the bride's face. The familiar face that met my eyes filled me with extreme horror. The bride looked exactly like me. It took a long while for my ice-cold body to gradually recover after the sedan chair passed through me. I was a living soul, only with my fate soul, so other spirits could pass through me, but it was a great drain. Young lady, why are you still here? A hand placed on my shoulder, startling me. I reflexively flipped the person over my shoulder. Ow! The person rubbed their backside, struggling to get up. It was then that I clearly saw it was one of the girls whose souls had been released at the beginning. She giggled and introduced herself. I am elder sister, released to help the young lady with her grooming. Grooming? Grooming for what? Elder sister was surprised. Don't you know? Today is your wedding day with the Rakshasa Demon? I was completely bewildered. To marry a demon, one must have a birth chart to determine the Yin Marriage. An Yin Marriage contract must be submitted to King Yama and an auspicious day chosen. But I remembered doing nothing of the sort. Elder sister grew anxious. Young lady, hurry up, the auspicious hour is almost here. She pulled my hand. I dodged, avoiding her hand. I need to see who is bold enough to marry the descendant of the ghost King Shen Tu to an evil spirit. As soon as I stepped through the gate, a blast of cold qi hit my face. Since I have a pure yin fate, I wasn't greatly affected. Beyond the gate was a large courtyard, black and red lanterns hanging from trees, and flickering red candlelight in the darkness, creating an eerie scene. Chen Yai was standing in the middle of the courtyard, holding a red wedding dress, looking at me with a guilty expression. "The bride is invited to change into her attire," she said, trembling. "What is this about?" I quickly walked towards her. Chen Yai whispered, "I'm sorry, Yue Ruo." She threw the wedding dress onto me, and it automatically donned itself. I looked down at the wedding dress and smiled at Chen Yai. "You want to marry in my place?" Chen Yai froze, as if caught red-handed. She repeatedly said no, then suddenly fell silent. "I'm sorry, Yue Ruo, I've wronged you. I'll compensate you when we return," she said. "I've already completed the Yin Marriage. What's the point of returning to the human realm? You want to harm me?" I raised my voice. Chen Yai became agitated, quickly explaining, "No, it's not like that. When I agreed to the Yin Marriage with the Rakshasa Demon, the contract clearly stated that I would only marry at 22 and be buried together after 100 years. The Rakshasa Demon is a great demon in the underworld. He wouldn't let his Yin wife die young. But to prevent that person from marrying in the human realm, their soul would be brought to the underworld to marry when they reached 22. I didn't believe her. "Who knows if you're lying to me?" "Chen Yai, I considered you a friend, yet you lured me down here and sold me to a demon as a wife." Chen Yai cried hysterically. "I'm so sorry, Yue Ruo, I truly didn't want this. Earlier, when we passed the flowers, I picked some, intending to let you go ahead, but she couldn't finish her sentence. I was kind-hearted and didn't want her to stay in the underworld, but she had the intention of pushing me to my death." "All right, stop crying, I believe you," I said, cutting her off. At this moment, Chen Yai looked up at me, tears streaming down her face. "Yue Ruo, I've wronged you. If we return alive, I'll be your servant and repay you." I was astonished. "No need to repay me, I've already married in your place. Are you still going to repay me?" Chen Yai stammered. No, it's not repayment." I didn't actually want her to complete the Yin Marriage. With my identity as the descendant of the ghost King Shen Tu, even the Rakshasa wouldn't dare to marry me. But I was curious, who had threatened Chen Yai to this extent? Seeing that we had finished talking, elder sister stepped forward. "Bride, please follow me to get ready. The auspicious hour is almost here." I followed her. Chen Yai anxiously wanted to follow, but I gestured for her not to come close. Chen Yai's face was already pale, her fate was tainted by black qi. If she came closer, she would be more severely infected. I followed elder sister into the adjacent room. Inside were 5 other girls, all living souls who had been released. Elder sister pulled me to sit before a dressing table. I looked at my face in the mirror. It was still normal. Elder sister began to apply makeup. Half an hour later, my face was chalk white, my cheeks blood red, and my mouth bright red as if painted with blood. In other words, extremely ugly. I looked at myself in the mirror and couldn't help but exclaim, "Oh my God, so ugly." Elder sister was indignant. "Young lady, why do you say such things about yourself? Although you may be ugly, with my makeup skills, you are the most beautiful bride in the underworld." "Am I the only bride in the underworld?" She didn't answer. I asked her about her work in the underworld. "Do you girls get paid for this?" She said no. "No pay, yet you still do it, aren't you fools?" She frowned. "If you have nothing to say, then shut up." I sighed, looking out the window. Suddenly, a fierce argument erupted. Chen Yai was arguing with someone. "I've lured Yue Ruo to marry. Release my sister's fate soul quickly." The other voice was calm, seemingly Granny Tong's. "Don't rush. Wait until you marry the village chief's son. I'll receive 500,000 in birth gift, money, and buy a house for Tianci, then I'll release the little girl's soul." Chen Yai screamed. "You're lying. You're using my second sister's soul to threaten me." Granny Tong scornfully said, "I thought that girl was a boy when she was born. Do you think I like you? Do you think I don't know that girl is trash, not worth a good price?" I chuckled coldly. "Today, I'm going to see what kind of power this Granny Tong has, daring to send a living soul to the 18th level of hell." I pushed open the window. "What's all this fun about? Pull me in." Chen Yai saw me, screamed, "Ghost," and fainted. Granny Tong quickly retrieved Chen Yai's soul. I laughed. She was so scared she fainted. Elder sister looked at me. "It's just that you're too ugly." Elder sister retrieved Chen Yai's soul, then looked at me with her fate-viewing eyes, which could see through birth charts. After looking, she said, I advise you, young lady, to marry obediently. If you miss the auspicious hour and the Rakshasa demon blames you, you won't be able to bear the consequences. I scoffed, standing in the window, looking at her, greed clearly etched on her face. Suddenly, a brilliant red shadow appeared beside Granny Tong. It was Jiang Rao. She's here. Jiang Rao reached out and blew yin qi onto Granny Tong's face. Granny Tong screamed in fear and collapsed. I told Jiang Rao to stop. Elder sister impatiently kicked Granny Tong. Troublesome. She handed me 2 soul-locking pouches. Chen Yai's soul and her sisters are in here. I'm just a makeup artist, I can't save you. Just then, the mournful sound of funeral horns blared. The auspicious hour has arrived. The bride is invited to board the sedan chair. Elder sister quickly draped the veil over my head and pushed me towards the sedan chair. And Yin marriage is different from the human realm. Since you're a living soul, they'll use a paper effigy sedan chair first to prevent you from being harmed by yin qi. Now it's time for you to truly board the sedan chair. I stepped into the sedan chair. Jiang Rao had already followed me. The Rakshasa demon stood outside the door. He wanted to see if the bride was ugly. He reached out to lift my veil. Elder sister was slapped by him. I angrily tore off my veil myself. Open your dog eyes and see who your daddy is. The Rakshasa demon saw me and just laughed. Oh, a change of bride? A prettier one? I like it. I was annoyed. The Rakshasa demon had learned to transform into a handsome face to deceive people, but his greedy and cunning eyes still made him very ugly. He didn't recognize me. I said coldly, "You're an ugly brute." The Rakshasa demon became enraged. I activated the divine seal on my forehead. The shadow of the Ghost King Shen Tu appeared behind me. The Rakshasa demon was terrified. Ghost King Shen Tu? Do you think Shen Tu's shadow can save you? He laughed maniacally. I chanted a spell to summon the 5 thunders, which required pure yang blood, but it was useless. I was cornered by the Rakshasa demon. Yue Ruo, I'm here. Elder brother Jiao and Diane Mu appeared. The Rakshasa demon was interrupted by elder brother Jiao. I jumped behind them. Diane Mu threw her peach wood sword to me. I took it and chanted a spell. Thunder, quake, 6 Jia, 6 ding, heavenly ding messenger by urgent command. I used the sword to draw a talisman, and the evil Rakshasa demon was struck down. Diane Mu, with her pure yang fate, immediately chanted a heavenly lightning spell from the peachwood sword. World-destroying lightning rain, come quickly by urgent command. The Rakshasa demon screamed. Wait. This yin wife wasn't my idea. She sought me out herself. Brother, you're a bit too confident. I agreed to marry. A soft voice rang out. Chen Yai stepped out, holding her little sister's hand. I agree to marry Lord Rakshasa, she said. This yin marriage, though not my own will, was initiated by me coming down here. I should abide by the rules. I lied to Yue Ruo to save my sister. I was too selfish. I can't make things difficult for Yue Ruo anymore. I tried to stop her, but Chen Yai wouldn't let me. She looked at the Rakshasa demon. If I marry Lord Rakshasa, no one will dare to threaten me anymore, and no one will force me into another marriage, right? The Rakshasa demon happily nodded. Chen Yai smiled. I agree to marry, even as a concubine, I agree. The Rakshasa demon quickly said, No, you are my only ghost wife. We ate at the wedding banquet in the Underworld. Chen Yai said, her sister, Chen Nai, whose soul was taken, was not Granny Tong's biological daughter. The little girl was Chen Yai's biological sister, abandoned by their birth parents. We returned to the human realm. The Rakshasa demon was driven away by Diane Mu's heavenly lightning. I woke up in the Taoist temple. Master saw me kneel. I immediately knew he had found out about my messing around in the underworld. Master didn't scold me for transmitting yin qi, but scolded me. How long has it been since you were initiated? Don't you have any self-awareness? Master rubbed his fingers together, demanding money. I transferred 500,000 yuan to him. I asked Master about Granny Tong. Granny Tong had been dragged to the human realm by Jiang Rao. Chen Yai reported her to the police, and she was taken away for kidnapping. Her son would have to endure several hundred years in the underworld, his body slowly rotting into bones. He had become a walking corpse due to his mother's selfishness. I watched Diane Mu pushing her suitcase out. Master had sent her to participate in a great spiritual battle. Do foreign demons fear peach wood swords? Diane Mu asked. I shook my head, wishing her luck.